KLTV sound check. KLTV sound check.
We're live. Great.
Morning. Welcome. Ooh, a little bit of feedback today. Welcome to the Tuesday morning meeting of the BOCC. We're blessed to have the Blessing Church with us today to start us with invocation.
What's going on here?
Well, we give you thanks. We thank you for the incredible blessing you've given all of us, this great nation. That we ask that as people celebrate this week, they're reminded of the sacrifice that went into this nation and how to both to establish it and to preserve it. And so we thank you, Lord, for each of us. And let us be reminded that as children of God, that we need to love our neighbors, protect our neighbors, and protect our nation. We ask you, Lord, that as this month closes, that the business that's handled today is blessed by you, and that everything that happens in this chamber is blessed by you. That your concern for our county is far more than actually ours is, and you love every citizen in this county. And so we ask you, Lord, that we do what's right to every single person, that your love and grace pours out through this room into every single household in Cowlitz County. And so we thank you, Lord, for your presence, for your guidance, and your love. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Those that can join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, a real brief synopsis of today. We'll go through. We do have a public hearing at 9:30. So we'll have to be aware of that time. And then Board of Health we have today at 10 a.m. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from June 22nd, 23rd.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes from June. Any comments, corrections, anything on that? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for a vote. Those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Consent agenda. I'll run through this fairly quickly. We have a call for hearing from Building and Planning, a public hearing to update the critical areas ordinance, include amendments resulting from a periodic review. It's scheduled for July 21st, 2026 at 10 a.m. Correspondence, items A and B are letters from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission to Pacific Power on different things with the Merwin and Yale. Item C is a letter we received from Southwest Clean Air Agency dated 6/15 of 26 regarding per capita fee. D is an agreement with the County Road Administration Board, which we call CRAB, for funding the Coal Creek Road Improvement Project. E, F, and G are letters to the state of Washington. It's part of we're considering a 1/10 sales tax. This is part of the process of sending and working with the state and getting approval for, I think, some policies we already have in place. They want to see what we have in place. And so that's E, F, and G. Vouchers in the amount of $4,268,263. That's consent, pretty short consent today. Questions, comments on consent? Okay, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda. One last chance. Okay, we'll call for a vote. Those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Two motion items today, building and planning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sahara, Senior Planner with Building and Planning. Today before you, we have a request for Board of County Commissioners signature on the final plat for Cooper Hill Rural Subdivision. Staff has reviewed and verified compliance with all applicable code requirements, and conditions of approval have been met. And the final plat is ready for signature and subsequent recording. So our recommendation is that the approval is signed today and then gets recorded.
This simply moved a 4-lot piece to a 5-lot piece.
Correct. Yeah, it was previously approved administratively as a 4-lot short subdivision. They've since added a 5th lot, which pushed it into the rural subdivision category. So that's why we're here today.
Any questions, comments on this? I think we've heard stuff on this before. Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the final plan for Cooper Hill Rural Subdivision.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Last call, any comments, anything? All righty, we'll call for a vote. Those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Public Works. Like we all get this, huh?
All three of us.
I love she just takes care of it right here.
So good morning, Susan Eugenius, County Engineer. So we have before you today the long-awaited bid award for the Dyke Road, excuse me, reconstruction Phase 2 project. We received 11 bidders, ranging in price from $3,601,642.66 up to just about $5 million. The engineer's estimate for this project was $4.83 million. Our low bidder at $3.6 million. So there's a difference of $1.23 million between the engineer's estimate and the lowest bidder. The main differences on that were due to they came in $360,000 lower on mobilization than the engineer's estimate. One of the reasons for that is they are a woodland company. So they are right there to be able to do this work. They also came in significantly lower on HMA, structural fill, and topsoil prices. So that totaled about $1 million of the difference in those items. The second bidder was $160,000 above them. So the first and second bidder were very close. We did reach out and have had talked to a consultant that we know who has worked with this contractor and is pleased with their work. So our request today is to award this project in the amount of $3,601,642.66 to North Cascade Excavating.
Susan, what's HMA?
Hot mix asphalt. You know, engineers, we have to
What?
use acronyms for everything.
I learn a new one every week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bankers, we used to get bashed for all of our acronyms. I don't think you're any better.
No, we're not.
11 bidders, that's
That is a lot.
a lot.
At this time of the year, that's a lot. Usually when you're bidding late, it's 2 or 3. I have heard that WashDOT does not have a lot of contracts out there, so that is helping us. We've got a lot of hungry bidders because a lot of our normal bidders that we're happy to work with, we're in here with competitive bids.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. Any questions, comments on this? Yeah. You come up. There's a button that'll make the light green.
Yeah, I'm Tyson with the Northwest Laborers. I was just curious if you guys had a apprentice utilization requirement on this project or
Yes, because the per the state law, because the engineer's estimate was over the 2 million, we included the apprenticeship utilization in there.
Perfect. Well, if there's any questions on that, I'm with the laborers, so we can fulfill those needs or manpower needs if needed. So
Perfect.
That's all I
Thank
got.
you. Anything else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval of the Public Works. Where am I at here? Public Works, award to North Cascade Excavating for the Dyke Road reconstruction.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. One last chance. Okay, we'll call for a vote. Those in favor? Aye. Thank you. It's nice to get that one. We've been working on that a while.
Good. We're excited
I
to
know.
see it go this summer.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rader, we talked a little bit yesterday about touching on 250.
Yeah.
Want to do that?
Sure. As we approach Independence Day and the celebration of our 250th birthday, as a country, I thought about the position that our founding fathers were in, and how we find ourselves in not so much of a different position in many different ways. They were, like a lot of us, they were just normal men. They weren't elitist. They were just not necessarily men of means, by British standards. But they were men who had a vision of what the country could be like. And men who not only had that vision, but they sold that vision to a bunch of farmers, blacksmiths, printers. And they took on the largest navy the history of the world had ever seen. Just a group of young men, simple men, who had a vision for being free men and being separated from the tyranny that they faced from the British government. And in so many ways we can relate to that, because if you look at our situation today, on the state level, on the federal level, and around the world, tyranny is trying to creep its head up and to take over a lot of free people. And it does it in many ways. It does it in the form of socialism, communism, most isms end in tyranny. Capitalism is the only one that has proven throughout history that has improved the state of not only its citizens, but the rest of the world. The United States of America, we cross seas, we go to war not to conquer land, but to set people free. We're one of the only countries in the history that does that. We don't conquer the land and take it over when we go to battle and when we win those wars. We set those people free so that they can enjoy the God-given rights that humans have been given by our Creator. And so, as we come into the 250th on Independence Day, there's a lot of celebration that are going to be going on. The commemoration of the Eagle at the port, the lake parades. I hope that we can keep in our hearts and in our minds, and as we have conversations with our children and with each other, the importance and the meaning of what this day represents. It's not just about fireworks and hot dogs. That's one of the ways that we show that we celebrate it, but it's about men and women who sacrificed everything for this project, the American project. And it was a project that they didn't know whether or not it was going to even take flight, but they were willing to risk their lives for the chance that it might. And because of those brave men and women, we reap the benefits of that today. And oftentimes I look around, and even in my own life, and I see the disregard for that sacrifice and the fact that we have become spoiled. We enjoy so many luxuries. We take for granted that we can just flip a switch and that light goes on. We can push a button, and even though it's 95 degrees outside, it's nice and cool in here. We turn on the water faucet, and to the point that if we want hot water, we just turn the left switch, and if we want cold water, we turn on the right. There are people drinking dirty water out of holes in parts of the world. And we take for granted so many of the luxuries that we have that were afforded to us and are here. And we have those luxuries because of the American project, as imperfect as it is. And we're not perfect. We make mistakes as a country, as human beings, as Americans, as local governments. We all make mistakes. But I think we strive to do better. We want to do better. And it's embodied in the statement, in the preamble, where it says, in order to form a more perfect union. Our founding fathers recognized that they weren't perfect. They recognized that the system wasn't perfect, but it was the best that they could do at the time that they wrote the document, and declared our freedom under the constraints that they were under. And it's our responsibility, I view, as Americans, to continue to perfect our nation and to not let all of the trivial things in life get in the way and separate us, because there's a lot of things out there that are utilized in the separation of us as citizens, as human beings, as children of God, as neighbors, as brothers, as sisters. And this is one of the ways that it's done, is through social media, through media. An agenda is pushed, and it's used to separate us into different camps and to segregate us just based on small little beliefs. And when we buy into that proposition, it's easier for us to be conquered. If you look at the men and women who fought during the revolution that gained us our independence, they didn't focus on any of that stuff. It didn't matter if you were black or white. There were plenty of black men and women who fought on the side of fighting against Britain to gain their freedom. This isn't about race. It's not about religion. It's not about gender. It's not about all the things that the media and that certain sects of society would have us focus on. It's about free men and women continuing to fight for those rights today, because they are being eroded. They're being taken a little bit at a time. And we are being segregated, and we're being distracted by all these other things as all this stuff takes place. And the reality is that as Americans, we are neighbors one with another. We have disagreements. Some of us are Democrats, some of us are Republican. None of that really matters. Because in the face of tyranny, in the face of turbulence, we come together, guys. When what happened at Nippon took place, I saw our community come together on social media. I saw our community come together in the Bob's parking lot, throughout churches, at the AWPPW, throughout different places in our community. I saw us regain our humanity as a society and treat each other with empathy as human beings and understanding. And it renewed my hope in humanity. It really did. We can come together as Americans and not focus on our differences, but work together to be able to have civil discourse about the things that we disagree on, just like our founding fathers did. It took them months to draw up something that they would all be willing to sign, knowing that if they signed that, it was a death sentence. It took them months to draft that. They had civil discourse. They disagreed. They didn't agree on everything, but they came to one of the most forward-thinking, progressive documents in the history of the world that has led to more wealth and more freedom than any other enterprise in the history of mankind. And I'm grateful for them. So what I want to do to honor America 250 and our founding fathers is just to go through and to read the first paragraphs, 2 paragraphs of the Declaration of Independence, to give us an idea and an understanding of what these men and women were talking about when they drafted this. In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light or transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to rights themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. That hits hard. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces, and designed to reduce them under absolute disposition, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such now is the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having indirect object in establishment of the absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let the facts be submitted to a candid world. As I read that, man, all those things still hold true today in our government and in our society and us as citizens. And this Sunday in church, we sang the Star-Spangled Banner. And, we normally only sing the first verse to that, but I want to read the last verse to it because it really, I think it embodies one of the things that we have to get back to in our country. Oh, thus be it ever when free men shall stand between their loved home and the war's desolation. Blessed with victory and a peace may the heavens rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must when our cause it is just. And this be our motto, in God is our trust. And the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph shall wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave. Guys, I hope and pray that as we celebrate the birth of our great nation, that we can hold those truths in our hearts and that we can remember that when we disagree with somebody and that we have a conversation about how we can better our country and our lives, and that as people, we all want the same things out of life. We want clean air. We want good schools for our kids. We want good paying jobs. And let's not let the things that are continually used to divide us. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Couple fun facts I tend to throw out. Most constitutions, when the average lifespan of a constitution is like, I've been told 17 years. So we're going on 250. Now, is it exactly like it was back then? We don't treat it exactly like it was back then, but 250 years is quite amazing. I think one of the endearing things, in my personal opinion, that kept it around this long, we're the only nation that recognizes our rights come from our Father, God. Every other nation, your rights come from your king or or whoever's running that. Our rights don't come from the government. They come from our Father, and I think that's unique to us and one of the reasons we're around. When you read through the notes, and Commissioner Rader's absolutely right, there was a lot of controversy. I mean, there was 64 people in a room. There's times up here you can't get three of us on the same page. Imagine 64. And Ben Franklin stood up in what I call the first National Day of Prayer to break the deadlock, stood up and gave a speech about how we need to bring prayer into this to break this deadlock and move along. And that's what did it. When you look at the notes, the most quoted book in the forming of the Constitution is the Bible, by far. And I think it's what makes us unique. So I appreciate Commissioner Rader speaking on that. I think it's a incredible accomplishment for our country and something we should be proud of for sure.
I think that for me, it's always good to remember that before our founding fathers were Americans, before they were rebels, they were British. They came here as settlers, and they came here basically with the permission of the British government, and then things went south, and they couldn't take all the things that were being imposed upon them, and they had to stand up and figure out a way to try and fix it. They became rebels. And in signing their documents and pledging their honor, their fortunes, and their lives, they did. They signed their own death sentence if they would have been caught and prosecuted. And at times, it takes a lot to stand up for what you believe in and to defend it. And there's a lot of situations right now where this country is so divided, polarized, and I don't grasp that. I grew up in with a belief that we can agree to disagree without shooting at each other, without calling names and throwing stones. So I don't grasp how we got so polarized, and I've seen it in my own family. I don't grasp that concept that all of a sudden that has gone so far south. Anyway, I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate the fact that our government is supposed to be protecting our rights that are given to us by God. And the fact that there are certain places in this country that feel like they should be controlling those rights instead of protecting them. God bless America, and we'll go forth from here, I hope, safely and soundly, and recover and get back to what's good in this country. I'll go from there.
Yeah,
Coming up.
we're running on 9:30, so we'll do the public hearing. I promise we will have time for public comment after that. It's been, what's been kind of eye-opening for me is when you, and I'm not a huge soccer fan, but it's been an incredible experience for the United States. And what's been fun to see is you always hear, if you just listen to news, how Europeans, Canadians, all these places don't really care for us. Well, you get the people over here, that's not the case. They're loving the experience over here, and they're loving the people they're running into. So sometimes you gotta take the noise and just squelch it. And
They don't want to go home. They
yeah,
want to stay here.
and who knew we had a commodity like ranch dressing that is worldwide famous? It's crazy. But anyway. Okay, let's go into our hearing, then we get.
Can
public
wait.
hearings,
This is
okay?
good discussion, so it's nice to hear. Yeah, who knew about ranch dressing? Tracy Jackson, Building and Planning. In front of you today, asked for a public hearing. We have done some analysis on our fees. It's been 4+ years since we've done a fee increase. With the internal services charges that our department pays. And then with the just cost of living of my employees, it's, we need to raise our fees to cover our costs. I'm an enterprise fund, so I have to be business sense and do the right thing. So I'm asking today for the valuations to be upped and then a 3% fee increase and then a $10 technology fee that will pay for my Acela program and then my software person that I have doing that program. So that's in front of you today. I
Been
moved two
4 years
employees.
or so.
It's been a little over 4 years.
Yeah.
And this last 2-3 months ago, I moved 2 general fund positions into the enterprise fund as well. And so those are additional costs that we weren't anticipating at the beginning of the year. So for business sense, I request that those fees be increased. We'd like it effective July 1st for tomorrow.
Yeah. I, the liaison or the person that sits on the building, we call it BPAC,
Building
Building
and Planning
Planning.
Advisory.
Action Committee, and a lot of those people are in there, are in the industry from real estate and stuff. And they think what we're doing here is very reasonable. If anybody's ever listened to me, you know, I'm kind of hesitant on fees and stuff, but I'm not on this for the fact that the people that actually work in that industry think it's reasonable because it's been 4 years and we're talking 3%. We're not talking
Right.
huge dollars and we can make that work. So, I'm personally good with that.
I think we have to open it up.
Any other questions up here, comments?
I guess, how does this help the homeowners or somebody? I mean, we hear numbers like building and planning permits delay jobs by up to a year, add up to 25% the cost of a home. How does this help somebody who's trying to get their property developed and move forward with the permitting process?
It keeps me fully staffed, and the fees cover the staffing costs. This last year, for 2026, we have, our, loaded staff number is 2.289 million for the whole entire year. And last year, my total, fees were only collected at 2.543 million. So with my internal services, I'm eating into my ending fund balance every year because I don't have the correct fees to cover. If I was probably business sense, I would ask for a 10 or 12% increase, but I won't do that to any homeowner or business. We're just trying to keep the cost of inflation just to cover our own costs, but this is a slow increase. Pushing it onto the homeowner is not favorable. That's why we've held off for 4 years and we ate down our ending fund balance. But we've used about $750,000 of that, and now I don't have enough to cover costs if we had to do huge layoffs. We are impacted by our economy, so if people are building, it's great for our office. We can collect the revenues, but if nobody's building, then we don't have the revenue. So we do have to cover the staffing for when the permits come in. Right now, we're fully staffed and the permits are 2 to 3 weeks out on building permits.
Do you know offhand what percent of your fees pay for inspections?
It's in the calculation of how much, it's based on their fees are based on their valuations. So that's what we collect on their value of their building. If we were just to do a one-off inspection, we charge the other cities $93 an hour. That's all kind of a loaded cost for our overhead and our staffing costs for a middle-ranged employee at a middle step. It covers their costs. And that's what we're charging. The cities currently, we're charging them $90 an hour. I'd like to up that to 93.
Okay.
I think that's a good point. We don't always think about it, but you do work for Castle Rock. What, you do some for Woodland?
We do all of Woodlands right now. We do all of Castle Rocks, and we back up Longview and Kelso. We do a lot more for Kelso than we do Longview, but yeah,
Yeah.
so we are at their mercy. We go through their cities to get to the counties. the county areas. So it made a lot of sense, and we're trying to keep those relationships good and frugal so we can keep the business there.
Yeah.
The same contractors work south end, north end. So we try to keep it cohesive, and then everyone's on the same playing field, and we try to provide the right service to them.
Yeah.
We do inspections 4 days a week in the entire county, so we try to keep the business booming and the building happening, so.
Okay, let me open public comment. Go ahead, Flo.
Hi, Flo.
Is your mic on?
No.
Oh, it's brighter.
There you go.
I don't mean to be a grouch,
No.
but I just sold some property, no house. And the fees, the booking fees, and the fees were astronomical on that. And if I have just a small piece of land and I find these fees extremely prohibitive, what would a person do if they, what would they have to go through if they actually bought land and put a house on there? All the fees. I mean, it is so restrictive right now. People are not wanting to build because not only the price of lumber and everything else, the fees are astronomical. And as a layperson, okay, now this is just somebody that doesn't know what you're doing, okay? So you have to understand where I'm coming from. How much energy does it take to book a project? Probably about half an hour, and you're paying $90 an hour or whatever. I find that very high. And a fee for just, I mean, what are you guys doing to earn what we're paying for? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do. The recording fees on selling of the land has nothing to do with my department. That's between the auditor's office and the state fees that they get assessed. So that's what gets charged on when you record land, and that's not my office. We only
Oh,
divide
okay.
land or build.
Okay.
But when we are at the counter, we're fully staffed. When I went down there, and it's been 4 years now, when I went down there, my focus was to turn the department around and turn it to customer service. So if you go down there now, we're there 4 days a week. We're there before 7 in the morning till 5:30 at night, and we're here to provide customer service. We will walk people through their plans. We're here to look at their plans with them at the counter. We give them kind of the direction moving forward.
You charge them then at that
No,
time?
that's all customer service. We
Okay.
don't charge for that. We charge based on the permit that they're working on or what they're building.
I
It's
see.
based on the
Okay.
valuation, and then from there, that value, excuse me, gets pushed on to the contractor or homeowner or whatever they're deciding to build or develop.
Okay. I believe it, part of the booking isn't in your department, but I honestly, we pay thousands of dollars,
Mhm.
thousands, not hundreds.
Yeah, no, it's
And
very
that's just
expensive.
selling a 2.5 acre lot, and if I were to buy a house and have to go through all that, I mean, we're talking an astronomical amount of money
I
per
agree.
person.
I
And
agree. But look at the prices of real estate around this town right now. They're very high. A
I
2-bedroom, 1-bath in not the greatest areas are $350,000 just for,
You're going by that cost is how you base your price, and
it's based on the valuation of
Of the
the
land.
build that they do.
I see. Okay, all I can say is that I'm really surprised people are building and buying land. I mean, we were surprised when somebody bought ours because it just isn't going, and people, I don't know. I mean, how can they afford it?
Well, we have developers that the extra lot that Sahara just had, the board approved, those lots they sell pretty fast. So if you get a good development and and they do it right, we're pretty static down there right now. We're not shy of work, let's just say. People are building.
It's hard to believe. It really is. I mean, after what we've had to pay.
Price
and
of
then-
lumber's high.
Well, I'm sorry if I have to cry on her shoulder, but between what we paid in fees and booking,
Mhm.
plus of course, the federal tax, 15%, an income tax on this piece of land, it was like, well, why did we sell the land?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, honestly, it's really prohibitive. I just can't believe people are selling.
Yeah.
But thank you for
Of course.
your information.
Of course.
Any other public comment? Okay, I'll close the public part of that and entertain a motion.
Before we make a motion,
Sure.
can I make a comment?
Yeah.
Well, you bring up I don't know if that's, you bring up a good point. And I look at that and I do appreciate all the work that Tracy and her team have put into this. And I believe it's something that is needed just due to the fact that some of these things have to be done. The unfortunate situation that we find ourselves in the state is that the cost of everything is going up. And as you were talking, Flo, I was just thinking, you know, us increasing our fees is no different than a tax. That's what it is. We're taking money from the citizens, and particularly in this case, we're taking it from them to utilize it for something that they didn't ask, a service they didn't ask for, that we're doing to them. But it's something that we have to do because, like you just said, it's handed down from the state. We have to have, somebody goes and buys a piece of property, develops a house, or they build a house, develop a piece of property, and they go to sell it. The buyer needs to know that the house is going to last the life of their loan, right? I mean, there are things that are there for a specific reason. And I can't stand increasing taxes any more than anybody else. But there is a time and a place for it in our society, unfortunately, in the way that our government works. And this is one of those. And I'm in favor of it. I want you to know that I don't like it, but it needs to be done. And one of the things that I see at play in our state, and I read this morning, and it's very applicable to what we're talking about right now. It's with regards to rent control, but it talks about this is what is happening. This is with regards to the government. They're not freezing your rent. They're freezing your housing provider's income while their expenses keep rising. The goal isn't to make housing affordable. It's to make providing housing financially impossible so the government can seize the properties. This is how financial illiteracy will destroy us. So looking at what's going on around our state, that's what's happening. Everything is becoming so expensive, and it's being done on purpose. There's a reason behind it. Simply put, they tried to pass legislation to make it to where an elected sheriff no longer has any control and the state can remove them. Why would they want to do that? This has something to do with it. But you're running a department and you're doing a great job at it, and thank you. I've heard a lot of public support for your department and what you guys are doing when people are buying and developing. So
Appreciate that. Thank you. We all take pride in what we do, and we're trying baby steps. We're moving forward.
Ready for a motion?
Yep.
I move approval to amend and rescind resolution 23-095 and increase the building and planning fees, including GIS.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. We already had public comment, so we'll just go straight to the vote. Those in favor? Aye. Okay, Tracy, thank you. Now we have Board of Health at 10, so we have some time for public comment. Anybody have anything you want to talk about? It's open season. Yes, sir, you can come on up. Just you make sure that bright green light's on, we're good.
Hit the push button. I came today because I was here in May when we talked about the Toutle Park Road stuff, and I thought you guys were supposed to vote on that today. Next week?
Next week.
Dang it. I'm trick or treating you then.
take a couple, take a
Okay,
couple.
For your vote next week, if I'm sick again, please do not call it Sediment Road. Because that's,
Oh, Oh, I see. Okay, now I know.
Yeah, they're gonna vote on the name, I guess, of the road and whether to approve it all. And again, I wish they would figure something better than what they're doing. 'Cause
Okay.
it's- Yeah, buy my house and drive through it so those people can get to their house. I mean, it, if we don't find out where the water's coming from that's washing that bank out, it's gonna keep going all the way into the new road and continue. I mean, it's taken 100 feet of my property in 5 years, so 100 feet by 100 feet wide. And then that doesn't include the stuff that's up in the county property that's just cliffs that are falling in, so I'm not happy with it, so. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, we will adjourn this and Board of Health will start at 10.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Board of Health, Cowlitz County Board of Health. We're going to start the meeting here at 10 o'clock. Sure. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for the board for coming today too. First thing on the agenda, we'll review the minutes. Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes? And I'll accept entertain a motion to accept the minutes. Move that we accept the minutes from the last meeting, which was 2 months ago. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Today we don't have a big agenda. We have Dr. Krager here with us. And Dr. Krager, would you like to come and talk to us a little bit of, everybody I'm sure has heard of the tragedy, the explosion that happened, well, it's been a little while ago now. And it really wreaked a lot of havoc on Longview and on just the people that are affected. It actually goes far beyond the people that died. I think they got their families and the businesses that are all related. But our concern here is kind of health wise, and that smell that we all smelled for a while. I think it's mostly going away. I've smelled it every once in a while, and Dr. Krager, we'd like you to talk to us and tell us if there's anything to worry about or what you know and the latest. And thank you for coming.
Yeah, good morning. Dr. Steve Krager, I'm the health officer for Cowlitz County. And Chairman Kelly asked me to give us an update on kind of the public health side of things from what happened with the Nippon Dynawave incident. And I was involved kind of early on, just kind of monitoring things from an environmental health standpoint and public health, trying to make sure that our air and water quality stayed safe. It was a tough. It was tough. I will say. I mean, I think everyone probably in this community has been affected in some way. Obviously, many people lost their lives. People were injured. Whole families kind of devastated. And then we had, a cleanup that is still, ongoing. So just a really significant, I'm kind of trying to remember how to work this thing. Swipe it. Thank you. It's been a while. And I want to acknowledge, that my standpoint is pretty limited, right? We weren't involved in, recovery. In fact, our role overall was pretty supportive, just kind of monitoring, providing. I tried to provide a lot of input in terms of how do we communicate with our community in an effective way, because there were times where I think things were unclear and we could have done a little bit better. So I'm going to approach things from a couple ways, just talking about the incident in general, and then what happened initially, which was very concerning given the spill from an environmental health standpoint, and kind of what work very rapidly occurred to try to mitigate that, which I thought was kind of fascinating, and also just a testament kind of to a lot of agencies working really well together from what I could see. So we don't know exactly what caused the tank failure, and I'm not even sure whether it's true to call it an explosion or an implosion, but we do know that about 600,000 gallons of a substance called white liquor was released, essentially at once into this facility. 11 people died. There were multiple injuries I've seen. Unfortunately, I haven't seen a great accurate number of injuries because some people were transported to the hospital immediately, but then some people apparently went on their own, self-transported to the hospital, and those numbers I haven't seen like a clear representation of that. The force of that spill was pretty great, and I don't know if you've probably seen pictures. There's one up there, but just the amount of damage just from I'm assuming the volume of liquid that was released was significant, right? Mangled metal, cars, trucks overturned, and it ruptured a water line, like a main water line for the facility. So that was spilling, we don't even know how much water, but that led to that white liquor then being spread, kind of, over the asphalt of of the facility and then into the nearby dikes and ditches, which is where the kind of environmental health things came into play. Let's see. So white liquor, obviously this is not my area of expertise, but it is a part of the craft process for making paper or cardboard. It's used to kind of process wood chips. So I'll take you back maybe to chemistry class where you think about pH. Normal pH water, we consider neutral, it's 7. Acidic things get lower, and then more basic things get higher. Either way, if you're low or high on that pH scale, it's very dangerous, corrosive, and can, cause significant health problems. Obviously, it can cause burns. Again, whether you're on that far acidic side or that far basic side. So white liquor is alkaline, which means basic, so that higher number, so more towards bleach, more towards ammonium. And I think, the pH is about 13. The highest scale we have is 14 on that, and that is a compounding scale. So the higher that number is, it's an extremely corrosive substance. So that it's already mixed in some water that obviously then spilled and mixed with a lot of water from the facility, which made it easier to spread. Okay. This, I wish I could point, but so it's a little bit small, but if I can do any sort of, that's okay. So we have the Columbia River map. You all know where the facility is, kind of right on the river, between that and Industrial Way. The facility, and then right across the street from the facility is a huge dike, right? And that's where I think a lot of that contaminated water spilled into and then spread up that diking system, kind of into frankly neighborhoods, right? That kind of go throughout a lot of the western part of Longview. Again, I was there the day after the incident occurred, and I think I talk more about this in the next slide, but just the number of agencies kind of collaborating, trying to figure out, well, what do we do about all this contamination? They were measuring, pH to get a sense of where that substance had gone, and it had traveled pretty far up some of those dikes and ditches. And they had stopped outflow into the river to try to protect the river, but that also meant that contaminated water was sitting in those dikes and ditches. The other complicating factor was that right across the street as well from that facility is I want to say it's Mint Farm. It's called Mint Farm. I believe it's called Mint Farm, which is where the city of Longview has several deep wells where they draw water for the city, which is pretty common, for cities to draw water from wells next to rivers. It's not an uncommon thing. But those dikes and ditches were sitting right above that. That's why part of the protection of wells is all that soil separation. I think most of their wells are about 200 feet below. So you have all that space, but hard to estimate, when would that contamination potentially reach that water source, if it could at all. That sort of data, very difficult to estimate. Can be done, but you need a lot of what type of soil it is, how permeable is it? How fast is this substance going to travel through it? All that to say, they were working with a lot of unknowns, a lot of variables that ultimately, time was kind of the essence, trying to move this contaminated water away. We also had, considerations of protecting the river, obviously. You may, it's kind of a silly phrase, but it's used in environmental health sometimes. It's called, the solution to pollution is dilution, which means, which is kind of a silly way of saying, like, sometimes it's hard to completely get rid of something that's polluted, but if you add enough air or water to it, it will dilute enough that it is not unsafe anymore. So that was kind of the principle of the idea of trying to clear this, the dikes and ditches of the contaminated water. I think the other consideration obviously was making sure the Columbia River was safe. And so they, again, EPA, the Dike District, City of Longview, Department of Ecology, other partners kind of came up with this plan to start flushing that dike and ditch system, drawing water from the Cowlitz River mostly, and then some from fire hydrants as well, to move that water and then monitor it at the outfall, monitor it at where it enters the Columbia River, making sure that it didn't rise to a level that was unsafe in terms of pH. So that was the plan. And let's see, this was again, all the people working on this. It was, I will say, reassuring, I think, to see all these partners. And this was in conjunction with the obviously like very urgent, recovery, rescue effort going on at the same time. A very, complicated response is what I would say. But seeing the EPA, seeing NOAA and the National Oceanic Atmospheric Agency, I think something like that, administration, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and then we had state partners, our Department of Health, City of Longview Public Works, and then the Consolidated Diking Improvement District. Tribal partners were also there, making sure that, environment, fish, those sorts of things were protected as well. So they did, let's see, I can't remember where. So they did that plan, and it worked. They were able to dilute that substance, that contaminated water, enough that it was safe to discharge into the Columbia River. And that, as far as we can tell, moved the vast majority of that contaminated water out of those dikes and ditches. You probably saw, there were a lot of fish that died within those dikes and ditches. I don't think there was a ton of other impacts to wildlife that I saw. But as that occurred, there was continuous like water monitoring for contamination and then air monitoring. And to your point, the smell. So one of the, let's see. Yeah. One of the substances, as white liquor kind of interacts with air, it produces something called hydrogen sulfide, which is what causes that rotten egg odor. And it's an interesting substance. At very low levels, our noses are extremely sensitive to it. So it will pick up, it will essentially be able to detect it before instruments that we have can detect it, which is pretty fascinating. And that's what we were noticing, is that you could smell it, but they were specifically measuring hydrogen sulfide and not getting any reading, which was reassuring. But yeah, that rotten egg smell, actually fairly common in the environment. So if you think of, like a hot springs or going to Yellowstone, it's kind of that sulfury smell, right? So again, I think concerning from a community perspective, why are we smelling this? Is it is it harmful? And at the level, again, there weren't even levels detected that approached harmful at all, which was good to know. And they did air monitoring for quite a long time. They obviously were monitoring the drinking water in Longview. They never noticed any detection of any contamination in that water as well. And again, I think part of that was they moved very quickly. They started flushing that the next day after the incident occurred. So it wasn't in those dikes and ditches for very long. So from my standpoint, you know, it was an interesting, we didn't, our department didn't have like a regulatory role in this beyond making sure that our, you know, our community understood what was going on. So again, that was the part that I tried to play along with our communications director, trying to make sure that the messages that were being put out to the community made sense, could be understandable, and addressed questions that people had. But you know, Department of Ecology, EPA, they were the ones that had the most authority from an environmental perspective. But obviously we had an interest in making sure, especially, you know, the water contamination was the biggest concern to me. But again, I think that was addressed rather quickly. And then, you know, again, not something that I was involved in, but I got to see, you know, some of the workers doing recovery efforts, the first responders, and just have an immense amount of gratitude to the work that they did in a very sensitive way. You know, recovering people who lost their lives are also heard from our healthcare partners, especially St. John's. You know, they saw the initial people injured or killed in that incident, and you know, hard to prepare for something like that, obviously, but they did it. I think they did a tremendous job as well. So I want to just give my gratitude to all those people responding, and obviously, you know, a lot of prayers and thoughts for the families who lost family members. That was, you know, that was kind of my perspective of what happened. You know, kind of a really tragic, incredibly tragic event, and then an immediate kind of significant public health threat that I thought, you know, overall was mitigated in a very professional and fast manner. So that's kind of what happened. I'm happy to answer questions or talk about any part of that, but thanks for letting me present.
So thank you very much for that. There's been a lot of learning that's gone on from this event. And just so people are aware that, you know, all the first responders, whether it's Cowlitz, Peace Health, et cetera, have all been having meetings to debrief on the incident to figure out what went well, what can we do better, what do we need to be prepared for. So as sad and tragic as this event was, it will help us be even better prepared should anything like this happen again. And then my heart goes out to all those that were affected. And from a nursing perspective, I always think of the aftermath of all this. You know, you get the initial support from community and loved ones, and then that initial support kind of fades away while this person is still left going through the whole grieving process, the PTSD that a traumatic event like this leaves. And the best that we can do as compassionate people is don't be afraid to reach out and just ask, how you doing? And sometimes to help with PTSD, the person just needs to tell the story over and over and over again. And if we can just listen non-judgmentally and compassionately, that helps them process the trauma.
Yeah.
So that's just a point.
Yes, that's a really good point. And I think I thought about too, even as, you know, we were responding initially, just the grief that goes along with it. And, you know, grief is not a linear process. It's different for everyone. So I think just being sensitive to that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Dr. Krieger, was any of the water pumped out and taken away?
I think they talked about that, and they're, I believe they're currently, or at least they had been doing that at the facility where it was possible to do that. There was too much in the dikes and ditches. The volume, I think, was, you know, obviously the huge volume that spilled, but just the amount that then was already, the water that was already in the dikes and ditches, it would have, I don't think it was possible to pump out. Yeah, it's a good question though.
And then, I'm sure the water, city water is always being monitored.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, so are they looking specifically for this white liquor?
Yeah, my understanding, again, a little bit out of my, outside of my expertise, but at the very least, they were testing pH, which would have changed if any white liquor, entered into the supply. So, and that never changed at all, which I think is good news. I think the other substances are a little bit harder to test for specifically, but that's, again, a little bit outside my wheelhouse. Yeah. One other thing I forgot to mention, but I just remembered, um, you know, obviously like a huge kind of environmental concern with this amount of kind of, toxic material being released. But when we look at it compared to things like an oil spill or things of that nature, there aren't a ton of substances in that white liquor. From my understanding, it's really just two substances plus water that can stick around for a long time. So we're not talking about like metals, like heavy metals, oil substances, that will stick around in the environment for huge periods of time. So I think that's, a small benefit as well.
Yep. Could have been, could have been an oil tank
Right.
or something
Exactly.
bad. Well, I'd personally like to thank, and on behalf of the board, thank you for being one of the first responders and helping, and HHS and all the first responders in our county that actually went down to and are still working on it.
Yeah.
Thank you is about as much as we can do to say when we have a tragedy, but that's kind of life. Anybody have more questions for?
I just have a comment, Doctor. One of the, I sit on the Clean Air Board, and they started monitoring, and there was no particulate matter whatsoever.
Right.
One of the things that I learned through this process was that if you can smell it, it's probably not going to hurt you. It's what you can't smell that is actually dangerous, and that's why they add like smell to propane and natural gases and things of that nature. I had never realized that. So what the particulate matter that we measure, you can't smell. There's no way to know that it's in the air.
Yep.
So if you can smell it, it is, as not fun as that might be to smell,
Right.
it's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
So I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true for a lot of those substances. I would say like smoke can still be, pretty dangerous at high enough
Yeah.
levels, right? When we have like wildfires, that sort of thing. But yeah, absolutely. It's a really interesting point for sure. Yeah.
Any other questions? Well, thank you again, Dr. Krager, for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anybody else have any other topics or anything they'd like to share? I want to bring up one thing, and it's not, it could be a topic for a future Board of Health meeting. And I've asked around a little bit of some of my constituents and see what they thought about it. And so I'm just going to read a few things, and then I want to ask the board if this is something that we should consider. So what I read a article recently talking about the vaccine cancer link has been suppressed for years. I'm going to read a few things here that are basically statements of fact. There's lots and lots of proof behind it. I don't want to get into all that. I just want to look at the bigger picture, because I believe that this was a perfect case study that kind of illustrates how a government damaged the lives of many, many yet untold people, we don't know how many, by taking away discretion from doctors and patients. And what a Board of Health should do when faced with scientific shortcuts and methodologies in the future. So I'm just going to read a few bullet points real quick that this came from a Senate hearing that was 2 weeks ago, I believe. And I'm going to just say for the discussion, just let's take these as factual. The U.S. Senate hearing presented scientific evidence linking COVID-19 mRNA vaccines to increased cancer risk. Multiple oncologists testified that stable cancer patients experience aggressive relapses after booster shots. Researchers reported attacks on their reputations and publications after publishing their findings. Senator Ron Johnson highlighted omitted pre-market safety studies, including carcinogenicity. Did I say that right, Karen?
Close enough.
National Cancer Institute's denial of the vaccine link faces contradiction from peer-reviewed studies. So my question really to the board is that when the next time a government entity or agency mandates that businesses must stop doing business and that schools should be shut down and that medicines for everybody must be taken and masks are mandatory, all based on information, in parentheses, it's, or excuse me, in quotes, science, that our own local citizens and doctors reject and the patients consider dangerous to our own health. Should this board be concerned with that? That's my question. It's kind of a deep one.
How do you sort out what is science and what is pseudoscience?
Well, we know that some of that science proved to be wrong and dangerous. So we know it now. Now it's 5 years ago. We know that there was some big mistakes made. And so I'm looking at it as, what can we do in the future to prevent something like that?
Well, that goes back to my question. How do you, in the moment, how do you sort out what's real and what's not? I mean, that's the situation you were in 5 years ago.
Well, I think leaving one answer to that could be, it should be between the doctor and the patient to decide the best course of action.
Well, most doctors ended up recommending it for whatever pressures.
Most, I don't know if it's most, but plenty did, but there were plenty that were against it. Yeah, I don't know if it's something we can answer or.
So Kelly, I think your question is a very big question. And I think the best that we can do at this point, because we can't predict the future, we don't know science versus pseudoscience, is to pay attention, is to just be aware and pay attention. And for so many things in medicine, there's not necessarily a nice black and white path. That's why they call it practicing medicine.
Still practicing.
So I think the best thing we can do is just pay attention, be aware, deal with things as they come up. I don't think there is an answer for the question that you're asking right now because there's too many unknowns.
Well, but I don't think that the government was practicing medicine. I think they were dictating.
Yes, yes. And I agree. But I also feel that this was a very new public health challenge that no one knew how to navigate. And just like the Nippon disaster, we learn from these disasters and we learn as members of the public as well on who to trust, how to be well-informed. And it's not easy.
Oh, the public has lost a lot of trust. That shows in the uptake of the vaccines today and just in general. Lots of trust was lost because, well, it should have been lost. Some of the things were flat out lies.
Kelly, I think your question lends itself to a broader conversation, and that is, I don't know what teeth or what enforcement power this board has. I often wonder what the purpose of this board is and what we can do to institute that purpose. But I think that question is more of a question for the commissioners. It's more of a question for municipality leadership and what is their stance on something like that? Are the three commissioners countywide going to enforce whatever is being told we have to enforce? Is the city leadership going to do that? Obviously, we have the recommendation of Dr. Krager to take into consideration, but I don't know that that's something that this board can necessarily address. I think it's going to be the elected servants in those positions that are going to have to make those decisions as to whether or not, you know.
Yeah, Kelly, I agree with what Commissioner Rader's saying. I think though maybe one role this board might have is just to bring an awareness to those things. I don't think the issue is as much the outcome of the COVID vaccines that we're finding is, I don't think they were a great vaccine. I think the issue is more the mandates. Like, to me, that's where it came down to. It should have never been mandated. It should have never been. I mean, we were put in a position where my son has to have daily medication. He will die within 2 to 3 days. My husband had to decide. He had to make the decision of what to do, given that those were the circumstances we had. So it was the mandates, to me, what the issues are, not specifically the COVID vaccines and the outcomes of those. And I think that's something that we do just need to continue to keep an eye on and stand against when it does come up.
I appreciate those comments. Yeah, well, I guess that's what I do, bring it up for awareness then. And yeah, we have to be vigilant and watch, but the politicians making decisions for our health over doctor and patient relationship, I don't believe that that's the way to go.
Yeah.
I think that doctor-patient and just liberty should be before what a politician decides.
Yeah, I would, and what Lorna and Commissioner spoke to, I don't know that when I think back when I saw it, I don't know that I could tell you the science, whether it was going to be necessary or not, but I could tell you I didn't like the way the government pushed it or proposed it. So I think that's where some of that comes in. If we see unreasonable force, if you have a government telling your doctors what they're going to do, and those type of things, those are things that I think, and it's probably right. It probably comes to for a local level commissioner board or the city level, their board to decide how strong they're gonna. We happen to be in a state where we had a governor that pushed all that. There's other states, South Dakota, didn't push any of it, and I mean, they have that power to. I think that's where it lies, and I think that's what they're getting to is I can't tell you the science, what's pseudo or what's correct, but I can certainly get a sense when I think we're being pushed to the point that we shouldn't.
Well, I appreciate that too. Thank you. Anybody else have any more comments? If not, we'll have a short meeting. Public comments. We have a question online. Yeah.
The answer is easy. Do not use force. Trust people to make the proper decisions. what did our founders do when they were pushed?
Okay, and there's a second one? That's, okay. Well, thank you from the public comment for that.
Mhm.
Okay, without further ado, then let's go ahead and adjourn the meeting, 10:35. Thank you all for coming and enjoy the 4th of July.